Martinis and Mortgages with Shelle Page. Sip, learn, make friends on life's new stage. Your MN Mortgage Lady lights the way with tips and laughs on every play.
Hello, everyone. It is Shelle Page, and I am here with Martinis and Mortgages, and I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. I'm going to let you kind of explain who you are and what you do and why you're here. It's an old friend. We're not old, though, right?
No, we're not old.
Just a long time ago friends. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Shelle. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. My name is Trent Bowman. Currently, I'm the Vice President for Retail Banking at Midwest One Bank, a division of Nicolet Bank. We got bought out by Nicolet Bank a week before I started back at Midwest
How fun is that?
One.
Surprise!
Yeah, and I had just gone through a buyout with Bremer Bank and Old National. So here we are.
Here we are. We're all going to be owned by Wells Fargo someday, maybe. Anyway, we'll edit that out. We don't want to say Wells Fargo.
Right.
So I'll just go into this. Well, someday we'll be all owned by the big banks.
It seems like that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, tell me what you do.
So what I do, Shelle, is, I'm very heavily involved in the community. So I do a lot of one-on-one consultations. My thing is to make sure that first-time home buyers understand the whole affordability process of home ownership and being able to maintain lifestyle. So many times people, look at purchasing a home, this as well as I do, is I like to say they get sold on purchasing a home. Versus being educated on purchasing a home. So what my role is to make sure that first-time home buyer is educated, that they understand the different products and programs, different down payment assistance that they could possibly qualify for. What's their sweet spot from a mortgage payment standpoint, and then can they maintain lifestyle?
Yeah, still go on vacation.
Exactly.
Pay for their kids to have sports.
And then once we've done all that and we understand that, this is the product or the program or the different down payment assistance, do they need to take a first-time home buyers class, et cetera? And then what I do is refer that person to one of our loan officers at the bank, but I still stay involved. So it doesn't like I just pass the loan on to somebody and then, I'm out of sight, out of mind. No, I stick and stay. I'm still counseling. I'm still consulting. I'm still working with them. A lot of times, folks get a little uneasy because there's lots of documents, that they have to provide. And, especially, I'll just keep it real, in the African-American community, they're very private, and, they don't want to release that information. So somebody's got to be able to tell them, got to release it. In order for the bank to approve the loan, they got to know your worthiness. They got to understand your
trust,
character.
Right?
And
you're building that trust.
Exactly. That's the key, building the trust.
And in fairness, because real talk is what we do here, is not all the institutions around us realize how important it is to build that trust.
Exactly.
And to build the programs around that trust to support communities that oftentimes are marginalized and sort of, okay, maybe we're not going to work with you because it feels complicated or things like that. So I've always admired, in full disclosure, we worked together at a very large family bank many years ago.
And it worked.
And it did. It was, I remember the day I said I was leaving. He was not happy with me. And he was the one I didn't want to tell. And I loved the institution. But again, like a lot of our organizations, they sell their position to sell. But I think, number one, it says a lot about you because you are very sought after in our community as far as lending is. You have the passion, you have the drive. And you do it. You do the work. But also the organizations that get behind someone like yourself that says, hey, this is important because it matters.
Yeah.
And especially, we both live in Brooklyn Park. Never leave. Otherwise, I'm coming after you. Oh, no. Okay?
No.
Okay. Give me a heads up. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. But we understand the value of that.
Exactly.
That some people who don't look like you or look like me have complications in conversations, especially when it comes to finances. And so that's why I was so excited when you came on today because you're like living and breathing this life of like inclusive lending.
Yeah.
Is how I look at it.
Actually, I love the way, because it is inclusive lending because, again, most banks or correspondent lenders, they're going for a quota,
Check the box.
Yeah, check the box. You know, if it sticks to the wall, you know, let's roll with it. But if it doesn't stick to the wall, then what's the next step? What's the next process? And when we went in, and I used to originate like that back in the good old days. But what we didn't realize is we were destroying potential home buyers' confidence, and not only destroying their confidence as far as being able to be a homeowner, but we were also losing the trust. You know that it's that same old, especially coming out of the housing crisis and the mortgage crash. Then just the past of lending, in the African American community with the redlining, et cetera, folks didn't think that they had a voice. Right. They didn't think that they had somebody that they could talk to before they go to the loan officer. So, when this position was created, 12 years ago by a good man, I got to say his name, by a good man named Steven Spears.
My favorite, no offense to anyone now, but my favorite, literally my favorite boss of all time.
Yeah. When he created this role for me, he had me in mind, because I had such I had relationships, within the community. I mean, I grew up in North Minneapolis. I went to North High.
Go Polars.
Yeah, exactly. Polars all the way. I was class president. I always got to throw that plug.
Did you go to school when Bobby Joe went to school? He's older than you.
Bobby Joe's a couple years ahead of me.
I thought so. Okay.
But full transparency, Bobby Joe and I, our families grew up on the same street, on Emerson.
So a lot of greatness has come out of and still lives and thrives in North Minneapolis.
Exactly. Yes. So the whole premise of this was to educate, get people confident, but also get them to understand their accountability, for home ownership. Matter of fact, it's weird because I just did a consultation with a young lady this morning, and like I told her, you are the CEO of your company, and your company is House Inc. So how do we help you prepare to be a homeowner? 1, 2, maintain lifestyle. 3, and still be able to afford this home. And in order for you to do this, there are going to be some changes that you are going to have to make. Anybody that is a business owner that runs a business, they have checks and balances. They have to do their monthly financials. They have to have a profit and loss statement, et cetera. So when we're
file the taxes,
you definitely got to file your
all
taxes.
The good
stuff. So when you're a homeowner, you've got to start thinking as an entrepreneur from a business standpoint, so you can not only run that home. So one thing I gave her an assignment to go through her checking account, go through her credit card statements, and highlight the necessary and unnecessary spending, because we tend to spend unnecessarily. And let me be very clear. I'm not saying you can't spend. I'm not saying you can't live. I'm not saying you can't go out and eat. I'm not saying any of those things. But when you're becoming a homeowner, there is some disciplines and some changes of our behaviors that we have to do. And we also have to think realistically. If I want a payment of this level and I want to maintain lifestyle, then I know I got to buy a house at this at this market
and
value.
I'm not going to Starbucks 15 times a day or whatever it is. Or even I think in some communities, it's really common to do a lot of cash purchases and transfers. And that's something else too that we also, just based on the way business models are, is a lot of businesses are cash basis. And you're helping with that. And we could talk about that forever. But I really appreciate the fact that you're setting the buyers up for success.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, my thing is always, I don't want you to go to a loan officer and you're not prepared, or you go to a loan officer, you purchase a home, and then I run into you 6 months later or a year later and you say, hey, Trent, I need to refinance, or, I can't manage, this payment. Then I didn't do my job. Then I didn't prepare you properly, to be able to purchase this home. And like I said, one of the things we always talk about is, again, this is a business or a transaction that you want to do in person. We got to get out of the over the phone mentality.
Yeah, texting and all that.
Right,
yeah.
and in the rush. Everybody's in a rush.
Yeah,
this
matters. That's what I say.
Exactly.
And it's hard. And this is Steven Spears as well. When I first started working for him, or should I say when he started working for us? I can't remember how it worked back then. But I said to him that, and we joke about it to this day of like everything can be solved in a pizza party. And what I meant by that is when we sit in front of each other, no matter what it is, it's a lot harder to be mean or mad.
Exactly.
When you're doing something like this,
Yes,
where there's that mutual respect of, and I mean, I've noticed in mortgage, the more nervous a buyer is, sometimes the meaner they get. It happens, and it's okay.
And also, I think too, when you're just doing this over the phone, there's a mentality over the phone that people take things different or they take things wrong.
Right.
But if you're sitting in front of somebody and you're talking to them as a human being and as a professional, and when you're asking them for documentation, I think it comes off a little more sincere when you're in person with that individual versus doing it over the phone or because as a matter of fact, I have a scenario, young lady that I did the consultation with, and then I referred her to the loan officer, and and she basically took what the loan officer was asking her for. And basically the loan officer was saying, hey, I want to make sure I keep you, in the market value from an affordability standpoint, where this individual took that all wrong and made it seem like, she was trying to, well, you can only buy in certain areas.
Yes.
I mean, it just took a whole nother the language of itself.
We all read into it, and I'll move on right after this, but I will tell you I had an assistant who sent me an email and said she had to go home early. And I said, fine. That's what I sent back to her. And she wasn't fine. She didn't talk to me for the whole afternoon. I didn't understand what was going on. And I said, what's going on? And she said, well, why were you so mean to me in my email? And I said, what are you talking about?
I said, fine.
I said, fine. And she goes, you said fine. And I was like, inflection, like the art of speaking.
Right.
So, all right. I want to ask you this question we all have our why. I think we've actually given a bunch of examples, but like, why do you do this? What do you think about when you wake up in the morning of like, I'm going to go crush this market or whatever you're going to do? What's your why?
It's a great question, Shelle. And I think if I can reflect, my why is, can we make a difference? Can we help somebody be in a better position than they were, say, a year ago? Can we educate someone about the seriousness of credit, on how it has such an impact on our lives? Because we didn't have this growing up. No one taught us credit growing up. I mean, I can remember sitting around the dinner table with my siblings, and we didn't talk about money management. We didn't talk about finances. We didn't talk about credit and the responsibilities on credit. So my why is, can I help somebody not make the same credit mistakes that I made? Can I help somebody not open up 8 or 9 different credit cards and utilize them and use them to where your utilization is at 80 or 90%? Can I help somebody that when they get paid, all of their money or even their residual money isn't going to paying off debt? Can I help somebody buy the house they can afford and maintain lifestyle? That's my why. Can I help somebody be in a better position than I was? When I remember buying my first home, which happens to be in your neighborhood.
That's right. That's right.
But really, even though I was a loan officer and even though I was out here closing loans and helping other individuals, I didn't help myself. I'm educating everybody else about doing certain things, but I wasn't educating myself. So that's why I say my why is to make sure that individuals don't make the same mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
So now I live much better now than I did, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I really understood the whole process of purchasing the home you can afford regardless of my income. So if my income at that time was at a certain level, well, I purchased levels down because in case something happens or I lose my job or I get downsize or I get laid off
Or someday retire.
or someday retire, well, guess what? I'm not going to lose my house again.
Right. Right.
Right? I'm going to keep my mortgage payment at a level where if I had to get me a job, making, a certain dollar amount, it's
be
not,
okay.
I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to negatively impact me. So that's my why, making sure that I can talk to as many individuals in the community that, that first home doesn't have to be a $400,000 home. That first home can be a $250,000 home, and you can purchase in a community where you can help blossom that community, that you can make a difference in that community, because all it takes is one homeowner. One homeowner to get up on Saturday morning and cut their grass and keep their grass green. One homeowner to plant flowers in front of their home, because it's contagious.
This is why he has to be in Brooklyn Park forever and ever and ever. When are you running for office? It sounds like we've got a campaign speech here.
You know what? It's what
It's
I
true.
do. It's
Yeah.
contagious.
It's true.
Because when someone wakes up, they're going to look at, hey, get up. Trent's out there cutting his grass, or look at Trent's yard, and his car's in the parking lot. It's nice and clean, and look at. It's contagious. So contagious brings increases the equity in the community, and it brings more people to the community. And guess what? It's gonna it's gonna push out those renters and those slumlords that have been leasing to individuals who don't want to maintain the yard, who don't want to maintain the property, because now you got homeowners taking over. And when the homeowners take over, guess what? They've created a community.
Yep.
So that's my why.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I'm so glad you were here with me today. Hey, how do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you?
Easy. They can just hit my cell phone has been the same cell phone since I've had a cell phone. It's always on my business cards. It's 612-201-0486. I'll say it a little slower. 612.
You can write it down.
201-0486.
Perfect.
But please say your name, say what you're calling about, and if I don't answer, leave a message, because if you don't answer, I don't answer random calls.
Yeah.
If you don't leave a message, I ain't calling you back.
That's the new generation right now, is they just call and they're like, well, I called you.
Right.
Oh, there's no message. We get so many
Right.
calls. So I really appreciate your time. I think you're doing so much good in our community, and I hope you never stop doing it. So
God willing, as long as I'm healthy.
Cheers to you.
And I got the gift of the gab, I'm going
You
to
got
keep
it.
doing what I'm going to do.
Cheers, friend.
All right.